You ever walk into a room, look around at the titles, the experience, the degrees, and think to yourself, who let me in here? And what if they find out I'm not as good as they think I am? If you ever had that moment, welcome to the club. My name is Christopher Houston, founder of CDHouston Leadership Development, and I'm here to tell you something most leaders never admit. Feeling like an imposter is not a sign you don't belong. It's a sign you're growing. If you stick with me for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you 5 ways to lead with confidence, even when your mind is trying to convince you you're not ready. Spoiler alert, you're more ready than you think. So let's get into it. Point 1, reframe imposter syndrome as growth. Here's the truth nobody tells you. If you feel like an imposter, it means you've stepped into a room your old mindset wasn't prepared for, but your new level requires. Imposter syndrome isn't weakness, it's evidence that your comfort zone is shrinking and your capacity is expanding. I remember being a new IT specialist working for a contractor at TSA. After being there for about 2 years, the federal security director said, "Chris, I want you to come to the senior staff meeting next Tuesday and brief on one of the new large IT projects." After that meeting, she invited me to come to the next senior staff meeting and the next one. And before I knew it, I was the only IT specialist in the West region that was sitting in all of the senior staff meetings in my region. I knew this because my boss was surprised I was in all of those high-level meetings. I remember beginning sitting in with the meeting with senior leaders and thinking, why am I in this room with them? They were talking about a lot of high-level airport stuff. Then one of those leaders leaned in and said to me, "Chris, the fact that you're here means we expect something from you, and we know you can handle it." I realized the room wasn't the problem, my thinking was. Up to 70% of leaders experience imposter syndrome during career transition. This is normal. It's not a flaw. Once I Googled how to be confident at work, and Google said, just be confident. That wasn't helpful. There's a quote by John Maxwell, and it says, "Growth stops when you lose the tension between where you are and where you could be." Imposter syndrome is that tension, and that tension is good. So here's the takeaway. If you feel uncomfortable, it's a sign you're leveling up, not falling behind. Now, knowing about imposter syndrome is one thing, but building confidence is another. So let's get practical. Point 2, take inventory of real wins. Your feelings are loud, but facts are stronger. Most leaders feel like imposters because they're measuring themselves by fear instead of by evidence. When I became the administrative officer at LAS in Las Vegas, I led an administrative support team that included 6 departments: financial management of a $1 million budget, human resources, procurement, metrics, information technology, and safety. It was a massive job. And yes, I had moments where I thought, can I really do this? But then I sat down and looked at what got me here. 20 years in the Air Force, several college degrees, leading teams in the past, solving complex problems, my reputation, my consistency, my preparation, and sitting in all of those senior staff meetings over a few years. Those weren't accidents, those were receipts. Research shows that people underestimate their own competence up to 40%. We're better than we think we are. We're just bad at remembering it. You ever notice you can hype everyone else up like they're destined for greatness, but when it comes to speaking life into yourself, the volume drops way down. So yeah, stop doing that. Jim Rome said, "Facts will always win over feeling, but only if you write them down." So here's the takeaway. Confidence grows where clarity lives. Document your wins, review your impact, build evidence. Once you know what you've done, the next step is, what are you prepared to do? Point 3, prepare more than your peers. Preparation is the antidote to insecurity. If you want confidence that lasts, don't wait for the opportunity to show up. Prepare before you're promoted. My father used to tell me all the time, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. I didn't understand how deep it was until I led major teams and realized confidence isn't built at the moment of performance. It's built in the hours nobody sees. Kobe Bryant was quoted saying, "You have to work hard in the dark to shine in the light." Prepared leaders make decisions 30% faster and with 50% greater accuracy because preparation creates clarity. You ever walk into a meeting and think, please don't let them call on me? That's preparation calling you out. There's a quote by Zig Ziglar. It says, "Success occurs when opportunity meets preparation." And the takeaway from that is, prepare past your peers and confidence will chase you down. But confidence isn't just about skill, it's also about identity, which leads us to point 4. Anchor your identity in your faith. Here's the thing. Titles change, jobs change, teams change, assignments change, but identity should be anchored in something eternal. For me, that anchor is faith. Because if your confidence is tied to your title, it will rise and fall as fast as your circumstances. In some of my hardest leadership seasons, from the Air Force to working at Caesar's corporate office to moving up the ranks in the federal government, my grounding wasn't and has never been my rank. It was God's calling on my life. It reminded me of this truth. You're not leading from insecurity, you're leading from purpose. Leaders who anchor identity beyond their career experience 35% less anxiety in performance and in environment. Those leaders have a peace you can't understand. And whenever someone asks me about, hey Chris, what's good about your life right now? I always say, I have peace. Here's the truth. Confidence doesn't come from a title. If it did, every person with a big title would automatically be a strong leader. And I think we can all agree, and we all know that's not the case. Les Brown said, you have greatness within you, not because of your title, but because of who created you. And here's the takeaway. Confidence grows when identity is rooted deeper than achievement. Now let's talk about confidence in practice, the kind you use tomorrow morning, which brings us to point 5. Practice confident body language in low-risk rooms. Confidence is a skill, not a personality trait. And like any skill, it gets better with practice. Start small, low-risk environments, quick wins. When I first started teaching college, I didn't feel confident, but I learned something. If you stand like a leader and you speak like a leader, your mind eventually catches up to your body. Your body can train your brain. My first college course I taught, there was a guy in the class named Mike. I came into the class and did the best I could. I was prepared and I had a lot of real-world examples for the students. I didn't know exactly how well I did until Mike pulled me aside and told me he was in charge of a department at another college. He was so impressed, he offered me a part-time adjunct position at that college where he worked. It's been shown that confident posture increases perceived leadership by up to 70% in group environments. Look, just don't overdo it and walk into the meeting like you're walking through a tunnel in a WWE event. We're building confidence, not starting a pay-per-view event. Amy Cuddy said, your body language shapes how you feel about yourself. Practice confidence privately so you can perform confidently in public. In conclusion, prepare before you're promoted. So let's recap. Leading with confidence when you feel like an imposter comes down to 5 things. Reframe imposter syndrome as evidence of growth. Document your wins, build a factual foundation for confidence. Prepare more than the room expects. Anchor your identity in your faith, not your title. Practice confidence in small rooms so it shows up in big rooms. Because here's the truth. You are more capable, more prepared, and more qualified than your fear wants you to believe. Confidence doesn't come from perfection. It comes from preparation, from discipline, from consistency, and from knowing who you are and who you're becoming. And if you're ready to grow the leader inside you before the next opportunity comes knocking, go to www.cdhouston.net and book your free leadership strategy call. Also subscribe, leave a comment, and hit the like button, because when preparation meets consistency, promotion is guaranteed. My name is Christopher Houston. Thank you very much. Good night and God bless.